Hi, I'm Mickey Jaco, and on this video I'm going to show you how to make a menu for a DVD disc so that viewers can click on a chapter in the menu and be sent immediately to that chapter without having to spend time fast forwarding it to that spot. A few preliminary remarks. Studio is a very capable program for movie editing, but many of its procedures are pretty tricky. And technical help from the company absolutely rots. Of all the companies I've dealt with over the years, they are the worst. Their website is practically useless, and if you find a phone number to call, that number ultimately does nothing except send you back to their useless website. The best way to learn Studio 16, I found, is to go on YouTube and type in Pinnacle Studio 16 tutorials in English, or Getting Started with Studio Introduction, and follow their official series of tutorials there by a guy named Paul Holtz. Of course, lately I haven't been able to find the series, but when you're in Studio 16 and you put your pointer on most tabs or icons, the identifying window that pops up has a link called Learn More, and if you click on that, it takes you directly to the appropriate YouTube tutorial by Mr. Holtz. So that's nice. Like so many things in the computer world, if you're going to be using a certain program a lot, then it is worth taking the time and trouble to learn all the procedures and idiosyncrasies. But, for example, if you make videos only occasionally or just make simple ones, you're probably better off just using whatever video editing program came with your computer and avoiding the overkill of Studio. Myself, I usually make 1 or 2 or 3 hour-long videos per year so that I do like the functions I get in Studio, and so I do use Studio. I am by no means an expert, but I have learned in the past 5 years or so the things I need to know. One of the trickiest procedures is making a menu for a DVD. The way I finally figured out how to do it may not be the best way or the correct way, but here's the procedure that works for me. The first thing you want to do is to have your movie completely finished so that it's all done except for the chapters in the menu. It's all set to go except for that final step. Take your pointer, go up to File, click on that, click on New, move over carefully until you get to not movie but disc. That'll bring you to where we were on the disc tab with an open track down here. Now you want to import your movie. Usually you go to your library, which shows you all your movies. And after you click on video over here, it shows you all your movies, and that's tons of clips for most people. So I don't like to do that. What I like to do is make a copy of my movie and put it on my desktop, and then I use this tab here to import it from the desktop. So I click on Import. I've got my computer highlighted, desktop, and it automatically shows you all the importable items I have on my desktop, whether it's a audio file or a picture or right here in my movie. I'm going to go down to the bottom, near the bottom, uncheck all. Whoops, uncheck all. I'm going to check this because this is my movie. It's a 1-minute movie made up of 4 chapters. Just for demonstration purposes, I've kept it real simple. Highlight this and check it. Then go down to Start Import. It shows it's importing. Should be pretty quick. Then go back to the Disk tab where we were. And there it is, sitting up there in your workstation. You drag it down to your movie line. There's your movie. And you can expand this by going down here to the ruler and just moving it like that. Or you can do Control minus or Control plus in order to get it the length you want. Now I'm going to wait till it finishes rendering. See this green line here? You always want to, I always want to wait till it finishes rendering, because if you do stuff before it finishes rendering, something might go wrong. Alright, there's my movie. I want to find the 4 spots where I want to put the chapters. I'll go to my playhead over here, drag it, and I watch until I see where I get to my second scene, which is field. I'm going from trees to field. I'm going to move it a little bit to the left of that spot. With my arrow key, I'm going to move it frame by frame to that spot so I get it exact. And there it is. I go up to my razor tool or split tool, put in a split. Move to the next chapter, which should be Brook. There it is. I move a little bit to the left of it, inch my way forward to the exact spot, put a split in there. Move to my last chapter, which is River. Move to the left a little bit, inch to the right till I get the exact spot. Put in a split. So I've got 4 chapters there. Now I need to put in chapter titles at those spots. I think with the more advanced Studio 16 versions, you can just click on that and get your selection. I can't for some reason, it won't let me do it. So instead I have to go to Library, and when you go to Library, it shows you all your assets, all your elements that you can use. Your photos, videos, audio. I'm going right down at the bottom under Creative Elements, Titles. Click on that, shows you all your titles. First 2 rows here are 3D. I'm not sure exactly what that means, except I think it means they come flying in and flying out or moving left to right or whatever. I don't want to get fancy. I want to keep it simple, so I go to the 3rd row and click this one right here, the one called Your Text Here 01. Click on that. Go back to my Disk tab to get back to our work, and it automatically puts it in your workstation up here. It's already highlighted here. I'm going to drag it down to the beginning of my movie. There it is. Puts it in at 4 seconds duration as a default time. I'm going to double click it in order to open up the editor for it. I'm going to go here with my pointer till I get a plus sign like that, sort of plus sign with arrows, so that I can move it up to the middle. And I'll click out of it, click back onto it in order to highlight it, so I can type in my chapter title, which will be 1 Trees. That's my title. I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of stuff over here just to, that's how you spell trees? I don't think so. There you go. I'm moving over here because I like a different font. First I got to highlight it. First, click outside of it, click on it, go over here, click the drop down arrow. I like a font called Impact. You have to find this, with a microscope, this little tiny handle here for your scroll bar to pull this down to get your selections. I'm going down to Impact, and there it is right there, Impact. I'm going to click on it and watch trees change. So it changed. I like that better. It's cleaner, it's clearer. It's a little too small, so I'm going to go to the size drop down arrow, pull this down, and click on 60. Alright, that's pretty good. I like that. Click on OK. Wait for it to render. See this green going across? It's rendering. Alright, so I have my first chapter in. I'm going to right click it. I say I'm going to right click it. There we go. Make a copy of it. Then I'm going to move to the next chapter right here, and I'm going to do it accurately by pressing my Control key and the right arrow, and it should move over. If it doesn't move over, different computers may work different ways, but if you move this around just a little bit, move the playhead just a little bit, then click Control and arrow, it takes you to the next split. So that's where I want the next one, so I do a Control V, and I've put a copy in. Control arrow, Control arrow, Control V for my next chapter, Control arrow, Control arrow, Control V for my next chapter. So now I have chapter titles in front of each of these 4 scenes. Of course, I have the proper one on the first one, but the next one is the same. So I have to double click on that and change my text. So it's not trees, it's to field. Click OK down here. Wait till it renders. I say wait till it renders because I think, I'm not sure, but I think when you don't wait for it to render, more things go wrong. If you start doing some second operation on top of the first one, you might have trouble handling it. So I'm going to double click on chapter 3 here. Put in, whoops, I got to click, all right, there it is. 3 Brook. Okay. Wait till it renders. Double click on the next one. Put in 4 River. And just to show you briefly how to change a few things, if you click on the outside, click on it to highlight it, then move over here. If you want to change the color of it, you go under Look and you click Face. Drag this down. You can do all kinds of things here, so I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to change the color. This is the color. Click on that. Shows it's white. I mean, it was white. Now I'm going to click a different color. I want red. So, or say it's blue, you click blue. You check down here. This rectangle shows you what color it is. This is white, so that's white still. But I want red. It's not red enough. Let's see if we can get over here. Then click right. Let's try to get the reddest as you can. Right there. Then move down. There's a rectangle red. Rectangle's red, so we're all set. So this should be red, but it's not. Why? 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 Because Studio has all kinds of things you have to learn. So you could spend a month on this and not realize that you just got to go down a little bit further here and apply. Then it turns red. So that's typical of Studio. It's got things all over the place, and it's once you know where they are, it works fine. But you've got to learn where all these things are. All right, so River's done. Okay. Let it render, and I will have 4 titles, 4 chapter titles in front of each of the 4 scenes. And now comes the second big step, which is to put in the menu and connect the menu to these titles. To get the menu, I'm going to go up to my library. Same thing, look at all my assets over here, all my elements. There's the menus down at the bottom. Click that. And it gives you a whole giant selection of these fancy titles, none of which I like. I don't like them at all. I'm going to go up to the top and click the basic ones. Here's your basic main title, or main menu and submenu. I'm going to click the main menu. Go back to disk. It'll give you your main menu right up here in your workstation. And you drag this down to right on this track right above your movie line. Alright. And then, if you have the more advanced versions of Studio 16, you drag this down also. And then you go to Paul Holz's tutorial and follow what he says in order to attach the main one to the sub one and so forth. But I don't like to do all those complicated things. Besides, I can't anyway because I have the basic version, and it says right up here, this version of Studio only allows the use of one DVD menu at a time. We recommend the sub-menu. So I'm going to use the sub-menu. I'm going to take this, delete that, bring down the sub-menu. Keeping things simple. Alright. Notice it automatically, up here, it automatically puts in down here your first chapter and a return at the end. So when it gets to the end of your movie, it brings it right back to the beginning again. So that's automatic. The others you had dragged down manually. You drag the orange question mark directly into the spot where you want it. Again, as I say, it'll snap to the spot if you don't put it exactly there. Drag this down to the next one, chapter 3. Okay, where's chapter 4? There is no chapter 4. What you can do is double click on this. And again, as I say, you have to find all these places. There's buttons up here. Under the buttons, you have general, navigation, and thumbnail. Click the thumbnail. It gives you a selection over here. Why don't we click this one? It automatically puts in another thumbnail here. You can drag it down. You can resize it and fiddle around with it. But I don't like thumbnails, and I think it's kind of complex. You can rename them down here. I don't know exactly how that works, but you got to click in here and then type in here. So I'm going to avoid all this. I'm going to go back to... All right, here, no, I'm not going back anywhere. I'm here already. Okay, what I'm going to do is get rid of all these thumbnails because I don't like them. I'm going to click on it, press my delete key, it's gone. Click on this, get rid of this. Click on this, get rid of this. Click on this, get rid of this. I don't like my menu on 2 different pages. I want it all on 1 page. So I'm going to get rid of these other items, you know, the previous page, the next page, the main menu. I'm going to keep everything on 1 page and keep it simple. So here I am with my text. I'm going to click on the text, put my capital lock on, and call my movie Nature Movie. Click outside of it, click on it again somewhere where I can get that plus sign. There it is. Move it to the center. Why is it not moving? Try that again. There it is in the center. Alright. I'm going to click inside it. No, I'm going to leave that there for now. Alright, here comes the next step. This is a long process. The whole thing is about like 24 different steps. Instead of thumbnail buttons, I like plain general buttons. So I'm going to click that, and it gives you a selection here, none of which I particularly like. I'm going to go to the arrow over here for some more choices. I kind of like this one, so I'll click on that. It puts one down. With Studio 14, you can right-click this one and do make copies of it, so they're all the same size. You can get there quickly. Studio 16, at least my basic version here, I can't. So what I have to do is go back to the general buttons, click on that spot again, and it puts down another one, except it puts it down right on top of the other one. So if you do that, you might end up, instead of chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, you end up with chapters 2, 1, 4, 3. So I don't want to do that. I'll get rid of that and drag this first one over to the left. Whoops, that first one's still there. Get rid of it. Ah! Wait a minute. Okay. And drag this one to the left. Got to go back up here. Click on here again. It puts it in. Drag this to the left. General buttons. Click on here. Drag it to the left. General buttons. Click on here. Drag it to the left. So I have buttons for my 4 chapters. I'm going to arrange them later. I don't have any text yet, but if I were to click OK down here and drag all these to the right spot. This is the first one. Boom. These flags here you can just ignore for the time being. They just disappear on their own. Drag the second one to the second spot. Third one to the third spot. Fourth one to the fourth spot. Once I've done that, we're almost there. We click on the simulator, which you click on this, it shows you what it plays like once it's on the disc. That's what I got so far. I'll maximize this. I don't have any text down here yet, but I've got the 4 chapters. If I clicked on this, I'd get my trees. See, there's the trees. First the title, now the actual video.
If I clicked on the one we did, the last one was the red one. We should get river if we click on this. There we go, for, river, and then the river. All right. So the final thing, we can cross this out. Just takes us back to our workstation. Final thing we need to do is get some text up here. So I'm going to double click this in order to open the editor. How are we going to get text up here? With Studio 14 and maybe the advanced versions of this one, Studio 16, you can get another, there's a spot where you can click where you can put additional text rectangles down here and then arrange them down here. With this version, you got to do it all with this one right here. So I'm going to click on this, get my cursor to the end. You can't see the cursor, it's tiny blue right here. But I'm going to click it, move it to the end, press enter again, and then start typing in my chapters. 1, trees. Whoops, I got my capital lock on still. Enter. 2, field, and I do know how to spell field. I do. 3, Brook. 4, river. Okay, now we want to move these things around a little bit. Now, before we move them around, we want to adjust the size. You can adjust the size of one line or a highlighted segment of text by putting your cursor where you want. I'm gonna use the arrow key to get the cursor right at the beginning of nature. Press down on Shift, move it across so that I highlight just exactly the main title there. Text settings. I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to make it, let's say, 96. That's pretty good. Then I'm going to move my cursor down to trees, use my space bar, move this over maybe here, go to the next one, move it, whoops, go to the next one, move it over here. I'm lining up my periods here so that they line up the chapter titles pretty well. Go to the next line. Okay, we got those things lined up pretty well. Now we need to line up these buttons with those chapter texts. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to drag it to here. Click on this one, drag it here. Click on this one, drag it here. I'm doing all this manually because I don't have an automatic way to do it the way I did with the Studio 14 or the way you could have it with the more advanced versions of Studio 16. You can, these look a little bit big. What you can do is go to the edge and make them smaller. I'm not going to do that for now, but what you can do is arrange, make different colors, arrange everything and adjust everything size-wise and position-wise the way you like it until you like it. The way you like it until you like it, you heard me. I'm just going to make one minor adjustment here. I'm going to move the whole thing here over to the left to get nature in the middle. Then I'm going to have to drag these things back over here. So you keep fiddling with it until you get it the way you want it, and then you take a look at it on the final version. I'm not going to be accurate here. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Click OK. I'm going to get rid of that. Click OK. Then get it here up on the simulator. And then you can see this is a little low, so you can go back and adjust to make it a little higher or make it a little smaller, whatever you have to do. But basically, there it is. Okay, you've got it. You can undo that. Well, let's just make sure we have it. If we click the third one, are we going to get Brook? We're going to get the chapter saying Brook, and then followed by the Brook. Why, yes we are. Okay. You can close this out and it just takes you back to your workstation. So you're almost set all you got to do now is go to export. And knock this off because it's trying to sell you something or whatever. I'm going to export. And burn disk. I click OK here and it puts a copy of the project on your desktop here before it starts actually burning it. So I'm going to click this. If you'd like to, I got something that's already on, but I put in a disk and it's already got something on it, so I'm going to erase that or overwrite it. Okay, now it's starting to work. You can follow it going on here. As it's doing that, I'm going to finish with some major tips with Studio that I think are very important in my experience. Major tip number 1. Because Studio Help is so bad, I think buying the physical disc instead of the download is better. Because if you have some sort of major problem, you can just reinstall the program from your disk instead of going nuts trying to get help from the company over the phone. Major tip number 2. Try to set up all your clips in an organized way in your video folder first before you even start. Because once you start a project, if you then rename or move any of your clips, you'll get the dreaded exclamation mark on that clip and you can't use it, and the whole project won't burn onto a disk. You need to have the clips stored in the same folder with the same name as they had when you first imported them to your Studio project. Otherwise, Studio can't find it. Major tip number 3. Now, where are we? 50% complete over here in the burning. All right, major tip number 3. If you're making a movie longer than 10 minutes, make it in short segments, saving each segment to your desktop so that it is a set segment. And Studio does not have to laboriously re-render all the effects. That green line going across, it doesn't have to do that all over again every time you work on that project. The more stuff you have on that active line, the more likely you'll run into problems. So it's nice to work on segment 6 and know your first 5 segments are all set. Then after you finish segment 6, you can import all 6 segments to your movie line for your final full version. Major tip number 4. Once you are completely done with the project, it's good to delete all the auxiliary files because they take up a huge amount of computer space. It used to be on Studio 14, you can just click on File at upper left and delete auxiliary files. But now for Studio 16, or actually our disk is finished. All right, for Studio 16 to delete auxiliary files, knock that out. You go up to not File, but Setup, Control Panel, not the control panel of your computer, but the control panel of your Studio 16. Go down to Storage Locations, to Render Files, and Delete Render Files. OK, and that'll knock out a lot of stuff you don't need anymore, which piles up huge amounts of space used. You can get, like 100 gigabytes in there if you don't clean these out every so often. Okay, our disk has ejected. It should be ready to play. I'm going to put it back into the computer and it should play the same as it would play in a DVD player. So now I'm going to put the disk back in and we'll see if it works. Let me mention, I do have a website called computerhowtobook.com if you're interested in solving generalized computer problems. And also another website on a completely different subject called Confronting Believers if you're interested in different viewpoints on the nature of reality. Okay, our disk has come in. There it is. This will be just like it's on a DVD player. It's sitting here with the menu. I'm going to wait and get rid of that stuff down the bottom. Let's see if the Brook is here. Whoops, see, we're clicking on the Brook. Don't click on the Brook. Click on the arrow. Actually, let's go down the bottom one here. Let's do this one down the bottom, the river. And there it is. So it works properly. You've got your menu. That's how to do a menu with chapters. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching. Here's a typed out list of the various steps. You might want to take a screenshot of it and save it for yourself. You can press the print screen key at the upper right of your keyboard,
and then paste it into a Word document and print it out for yourself, and you might find that helpful.